Joshua 9. And it came to pass, when all the kings that were on this side of Jordan, in the mountains, and in the plains, on all the coast of the great sea, in front of Lebanon, heard this, the Hittites, and the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, they came together by one accord to fight against Joshua and against Israel. And the inhabitants of Gibeon, hearing what Joshua had done to Jericho and to Ai, they used cunning, and went and pretended to be ambassadors, and taking old sacks upon their asses, and skins of wine, old, and torn, and mended, and on his feet old mended shoes, and old clothes upon him, and all the bread they brought for the journey was dry and moldy. And they came to Joshua in the camp to Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, We come from a far country, so now make an agreement with us. And the men of Israel answered the Hivites, Peradventure ye dwell among us, how then shall we make an agreement with you? Then they said to Joshua, We are your servants. And Joshua said to them, Who are you, and where do you come from? And they said unto him, Thy servants are come from a very far country, because of the name of the Lord thy God, because we have heard of his fame, and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan, who was in Ashtaroth. Therefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our land spoke to us, saying, Take provisions in your hand for the journey, and go to meet them and say to them, We are your servants, do, therefore, now agree with us. This our bread we took hot from our houses for our provision, on the day we went out to come to you, and here it is now dry and musty. And these skins, which we filled with wine, were new, and here they are already broken, and these our clothes and our shoes have become old because of the very long journey. So the men of Israel took their provisions and did not ask the Lord for advice. And Joshua made peace with them, and made a covenant with them, that he would give them life, and the princes of the congregation swore an oath to them. And it came to pass, at the end of 3 days, after they had made an agreement with them, that they heard that they were their neighbors, and that they dwelt among them. For when the children of Israel departed, they came to their cities on the 3rd day, and their cities were Gibeon and Sephra, and Beeroth, and Kiriath-jearim. And the children of Israel did not smite them, because the princes of the congregation swore to them by the Lord God of Israel, therefore the whole congregation murmured against the princes. Then all the princes said to all the congregation, We have sworn to them by the Lord God of Israel, therefore we cannot touch them. This, however, will we do to them, we will save their lives, so that there will be no great wrath on us, because of the oath we swore to them. The princes therefore said unto them, Live, and be hewers of wood and drawers of water for all the congregation, as the princes said unto them. And Joshua called them, and spake unto them, saying, Why have ye deceived us, saying, We dwell far off from you, when ye dwell among us? Now therefore ye shall be cursed, and among you there shall never cease to be servants, or hewers of wood, or drawers of water, for the house of my God. Then they answered Joshua, and said, Because thy servants were surely told that the Lord thy God commanded Moses his servant, that he would give the whole land to you, and destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you, our lives because of you, that's why we did it like this. And behold, we are now in your hand, do to us what seems good and right to you. So he did to them, and he delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, and they did not kill them. And on that day Joshua made them to chop wood and draw water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, to this day, in the place which he would choose. Joshua 10. And it came to pass, when Adonizedek king of Jerusalem heard, that Joshua had taken Ai, and had utterly destroyed it, and had done to Ai, and to its king, as he had done to Jericho and its king, and that the inhabitants of Gibeon made peace with the Israelites, and were among them. They feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and even greater than Ai and all its mighty men. Therefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoam, king of Hebron, and to Piram, king of Jarmuth, and to Japhia, king of Lachish, and to Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up to me, and help me, and let us smite Gibeon, because he made peace with Joshua and the children of Israel. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites came together and went up, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, they and all their armies, and they besieged Gibeon and fought against it. So the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal, saying, Do not withhold your hand from your servants, come up to us in haste, and deliver us, and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites, that dwell in the mountains, are gathered together against us. So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the valiant men. And the Lord said to Joshua, Do not be afraid of them, for I have given them into your hand, none of them will be able to resist you. And Joshua came upon them suddenly, for all night came up from Gilgal. And the Lord troubled them before Israel, and smote them with a great slaughter in Gibeon, and he pursued them by the way that goeth up to Beth-horon, and smote them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. And it came to pass, that as they fled before Israel, on the way down to Beth-horon, the Lord cast great stones upon them from heaven as far as Azekah, and they died, and many more died from the hailstones than the children of Israel killed with the sword. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord on the day that the Lord gave the Amorites into the hands of the children of Israel, and said in the presence of the Israelites, Sun, stand still in Gibeon, and you, moon, in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stood still, until the people took revenge on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? The sun therefore stood still in the midst of the sky, and did not hasten to go down, almost a whole day. And there was no day like this, before or after, when the Lord heard the voice of a man, because the Lord fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. But those 5 kings fled and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, The 5 kings were found hid in a cave at Makkedah. Then Joshua said, Roll great stones to the mouth of the cave, and put men over it to guard them. But you do not stop, chase your enemies, and attack those who are lagging behind. Do not let them enter your cities, for the Lord your God has already delivered them into your hand. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a great slaughter, until they had consumed them, and those that were left of them withdrew to the fortified cities. All the people returned in peace to Joshua, to the camp at Makkedah, there being no one to move his tongue against the children of Israel. Then Joshua said, Open the mouth of the pit, and bring out those 5 kings to me. So they did so, and brought those 5 kings out of the pit to him, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought those kings to Joshua, that he called all the men of Israel, and said to the captains of the men of war who went with him, Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. And they came and put their feet on their necks. Then Joshua said unto them, Fear not, neither be dismayed, strive and be encouraged, for so will the Lord do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And after this Joshua smote them, and slew them, and hanged them on 5 trees, and they were hanged on the trees until evening. And it came to pass, when the sun was setting, that Joshua commanded them to be taken down from the trees, and cast them into the pit where they hid, and they laid great stones at the mouth of the cave, which are still there to this day. And that same day Joshua took Makkedah, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof, he utterly destroyed it with all that were in it, leaving nothing, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. So Joshua, and all Israel with him, passed from Makkedah to Libnah and fought against it. And the Lord also delivered it into the hand of Israel, both it and its king, and smote it with the edge of the sword, it and all who were in it, leaving nothing, and he did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. So Joshua, and all Israel with him, passed from Libnah to Lachish, and besieged it, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel, and the next day he took her, and smote her and all that were in her with the edge of the sword, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam king of Gezer went up to help Lachish, but Joshua smote him and his people, until he left him not one. And Joshua, and all Israel with him, passed from Lachish to Eglon, and they besieged it, and fought against it. And the same day they took her, and smote her with the edge of the sword, and all that were in it, he utterly destroyed in the same day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. Then Joshua, and all Israel with him, went up from Eglon to Hebron, and they fought against it. And they took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and its king, and all its cities, and all that were in them, he left none alive, according to all that he had done to Eglon, and utterly destroyed it, and all who were in it. Then Joshua, and all Israel with him, returned to Debir, and fought against it. And he took it and its king, and all its cities, and smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all that were in them, nothing left, as he had done to Hebron, so he had done to Debir and its king, and as he had done to Libnah and its king. So Joshua smote all that land, the mountains, the south, and the plains, and the flowing waters, and all its kings, nothing left, but everything that breathed he destroyed, as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and all the land of Goshen, and to Gibeon. And Joshua took all these kings and their lands at once, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. So Joshua, and all Israel with him, returned to the camp at Gilgal. Joshua 11. It came to pass after this, that when Jabin king of Hazor heard it, he sent messengers to Jobab king of Madon, and to the king of Shimron, and to the king of Aksaph, and to the kings that were in the north, in the mountains, and in the plain to the south of Chinnerit, and in the plains, and in the heights of Dor, by the sea. To the Canaanite from east and west, and the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Jebusite in the mountains, and to the Hivite at the foot of Hermon, in the land of Mizpah. So they went out, and all their armies with them, a great multitude, like the sand that is on the seashore in multitude, and very many horses and chariots. All these kings assembled together, and came and encamped by the waters of Merom, to fight against Israel. And the Lord said to Joshua, Fear not before them, for tomorrow at this time I will give them all slain before the children of Israel. Their horses you shall hamstring, and their chariots you shall burn with fire. And Joshua, and all the men of war with him, came hastily upon them to the waters of Merom, and suddenly attacked them. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Israel, and they smote them, and pursued them unto great Sidon, and unto Misrephoth Main, and unto the valley of Mizpah on the east, they smote until they had none left. And Joshua did to them as the Lord had told him, his horses hobbled, and his chariots he burned with fire. And at that time Joshua returned, and took Hazor, and smote its king with the sword, for Hazor was formerly the head of all these kingdoms. And all that were in it, they smote with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed them, nothing was left that had breath, and Hazor burned with fire. And Joshua took all the cities of these kings, and all their kings, and smote them with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded. Only the Israelites did not burn the cities that were on their hills, except Hazor, which Joshua burned. And all the spoil of these cities, and the cattle, the children of Israel took for themselves, only all men they smote with the edge of the sword, until they destroyed them, nothing that had breath left alive. As the Lord commanded Moses his servant, so Moses commanded Joshua, and so Joshua did. Not one word did he take away from all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took all that land, the mountains, and all the south, and all the land of Goshen, and the plains, and the mountains of Israel, and its plains. From Mount Halak, which goes up to Seir, to Baalgad, in the valley of Lebanon, at the foot of Mount Hermon, he also took all their kings, and smote and slew them. For a long time Joshua made war against all these kings. There was no city that made peace with the children of Israel, except the Hivites, inhabitants of Gibeon. By war they took them all. For the hardening of their hearts came from the Lord, to go out to war against Israel, that they should be utterly destroyed, and that they should find no pity, but to destroy them all as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua came and uprooted the Anakims from the mountains of Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, and from all the mountains of Judah and from all the mountains of Israel. Joshua utterly destroyed them with their cities. None of the Anakim were left in the land of the children of Israel, only a few remained in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod. So Joshua took the whole land, according to all that the Lord had said to Moses, and Joshua gave it as an inheritance to the children of Israel, according to their divisions, according to their tribes, and the land rested from war. Joshua 12. These, then, are the kings of the land, whom the children of Israel smote, and whose land they possessed beyond the Jordan toward the rising of the sun, from the brook Arnon to Mount Hermon, and all the plain eastward. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and who ruled from Aroer, which is on the bank of the brook Arnon, and from the middle of the brook, in the middle of Gilead, into the brook Jabbok, the boundary of the children of Ilovim. And from the plain to the sea of Chinnerit on the east, and as far as the sea of the plain, the salt sea on the east, by the way of Beth Jezimoth, and from the south, below Asto Pisgah. As also the term of Og, king of Bashan, who was of the rest of the giants and who dwelt in Ashtoreth and Edrei. And he ruled in Mount Hermon, and in Salcah, and in all Bashan, to the border of the Jeshurites and the Maccathites, and half of Gilead, border of Sihon king of Heshbon. These Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel, smote, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave the land for a possession to the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh. And these are the kings of the land which Joshua and the children of Israel smote on this side Jordan westward, from Baalgad, in the valley of Lebanon, unto Mount Halak, which goeth up to Seir, and Joshua gave it to the tribes of Israel for a possession according to their divisions. What was in the mountains, and in the plains, and in the plains, and in the descents of the waters, and in the desert, into the south, the Hittite, the Amorite, and the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, who is beside Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, another. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, another. The king of Lachish, another. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Geshur, 1. The king of Debir, another. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, another. The king of Harad, 1. The king of Libnah, another. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, another. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tappuah, another. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, another. The king of Lassarim, 1. The king of Madden, another. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Sinramaron, another. The king of Aksaph, 1. The king of Tanakh, another. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kadesh, another. The king of Jokneam of Carmel, 1. The king of Dor on the hill of Dor, another. The king of Goim and Gilgal, 1. The king of Tirzah, another. 31 kings in all. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and make a comment.